And I remember as a kid just kind of just being rude to myself about it, like, oh, that's uncivilized, you know. I had problems with foods and smells and tastes, and just kind of feeling embarrassed, you know, about my culture, and then just feeling like, you know what, I could solve this, holding back certain foods, you know, not intentionally knowing, but
Yeah.
that kind of being a participator in the elimination of your culture, you know.
Being an artist can be a heck of a ride, but you're not alone. On Journey of the Arts, we tell inspiring stories of artists and chat with those who support us on this path. I'm your host, Lola Opataya, writer, editor, singer, and all-round lover of words. Come with me on the journey. Hello, and thanks for joining me again on Journey of the Arts. In this episode, we're discussing two of my favorite things, food and culture. And joining me today is Kid Haile, author and illustrator of the children's book, Sometimes I Eat With My Hands. The book gives us a glimpse into a mealtime at Fairvin's house, the role of family members during mealtimes, and the importance of honoring eating traditions. And now a little about my guest. Kid Haile is an artist of Ethiopian descent. He was born and raised in Toronto, Ontario. As the son of a photographer, images were integral to his upbringing and his sense of the world. Although Kid has a degree in biological sciences from the University of Guelph, his continued interest in beauty have pulled him back to the arts, leading him to study at the Florence Academy of Arts. Welcome, Kid.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, for sure. I'm delighted to talk to you as well.
Awesome. Before we get into today's conversation, if you're watching us on YouTube, please know you can listen to the show wherever you get your podcasts. All you have to do is look up Journey of the Art. Also, if you love the content, please subscribe to the channel or follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. This helps us stay connected so you're up to date with the latest content. All right, Kid. So you've journeyed from the sciences to the arts, which is something that I find quite fascinating. What's that been like?
Interesting. It's really, biology has to do with my interest in life. So it wasn't for me, it wasn't a big jump.
Right.
It was more interesting in the fact that I actually went for it. But I guess my upbringing, my dad was a photographer, as he said. So like most of my younger childhood was just surrounded by images, assisting my father with photography, just looking at images my entire life. So even when I was introduced into the sciences, it was looking at animals, looking at the anatomy of humans. That's really what kind of drew me towards that. So the sciences, and also just being good in school. That's really what I was just like, oh, take science, you're going to be smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what he told us all.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what led you down the path of illustration? How did that even start?
Yeah, this is an interesting path. So I always drew, and basically in class we would have like an art component to a project, and I would see that I kind of had a skill or a knack for it. And my father would encourage it, which is very rare for an Ethiopian family.
Dad.
Yeah, it's not normal. He actually told me, he's like, you should be an artist. When I was probably, I don't know, maybe I was in middle school, and he even bought me a book and was like, it was like cartoon drawing for newspapers. Yeah, and I was just like, I want to make money. I don't want to do this. But yeah, I would draw, even in university, I would draw like on my doodle and stuff when I should have been listening. And then slowly something kind of tragic. My father ended up passing away when I was in university.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, he had cancer, and I started reconsidering life and like how short it is and what it means. You know, it happens with big moments like that. And I started thinking, what would I do if there was no money, no pressure? What would I do? And I was like, I would draw. I would draw, and so that it just led me down that path. I started taking part-time classes, painting and drawing, and slowly I ended up going to Florence, like you said, because I found that there was a great program there. So I kind of just followed little strings, and I found myself there. And when I came back, um, it was time. I got married, and it was time to figure out how to turn this into money.
Oh, yeah.
And then yeah, and then slowly it just brought the illustration aspect into my reins. Yeah.
Mm, awesome. So, are you completely an artist, or are you part scientist, part artist?
So now, so basically, yeah. So after school, my mother helped through a friend got me a job in a pharmaceutical company, and that's what allowed me to start taking a small course in Toronto for drawing.
Right.
And as I was getting my skills better there, I was wanting to draw more and more. I could see myself being like, this
Mm,
is not enough. A couple days after work,
mm,
and I overheard my teachers say that they went to Florence for school,
mm.
and I was like, okay. So I started doing research and saying like, what school did they go to, and how did they get their skills to be this proficient? How did they get to be
Right.
these good painters? And then I was just like, I'm ready. I'm ready to cut the time, cut the time, let go.
Right.
So I quit my job in the pharmaceutical company. I had some money saved. I was living like saving every dollar. Uh, and yeah, I ended up going there, and just we drew and painted every day,
Wow.
and it really changed everything. And then when I was getting engaged at the time, so my wife now, but she was my girlfriend then. She came to live with me in Italy,
Mm.
and slowly love brought me back to Toronto. And also financial reasons. I was running out of money fast. I mean, our Canadian dollar, it doesn't do very well in Europe,
Yeah.
and I didn't have that much money, so it was yeah. My classmates were like rich, like from rich families and stuff. I was
Yeah.
not. So yeah, I just told myself I know what the structure is. I know what the demands are. Let me
Mm.
come back to Toronto. I had to get married at the time. I was not had to, but I wanted to get married.
Yeah. Just in
So
case the wife's
yeah,
listening.
yeah,
Had to?
that,
What do you mean
yeah,
had
yeah,
to?
yeah, yeah. I had to do it. Um, yeah, we actually weirdly, I had to because I did this interesting. What was it called? It was called a betrothal,
Right.
which is I think it's like old school, but like I we met this gentleman. He was a priest at an Anglican church, and I just wanted to
Right.
get married, like as an artist does. I wanted to get married in Italy, and like, oh, it would have been nice, just me and her in Italy. She wanted her family to be there, so yeah. So we decided to like meet in the middle ground,
Yeah.
and we had a betrothal ceremony, which is like a promise, I guess, and that was nice.
Oh,
Um,
that's sweet.
but then yeah, we decided to come back. She was a little homesick. I was running out of money. We came home. And I started. I had a home studio. We found a
Right.
nice apartment that allowed for that, and I started painting and doing my own personal projects
Mm.
at home. And then we had children. Our first
Mm.
daughter, Leilena, and she was partially the inspiration for the story, but it was also my wife. She was like, "You have a lot of ideas. Why don't you write a children's book?"
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, "Oh, I have these grandiose ideas for paintings." Like
Right.
after being in
Right.
Italy, and seeing all these Renaissance paintings, I was like, "That's what I have to do." But just like being there with my daughter, actually, my wife. So yeah, this will give you a better context. Me and my wife made a decision that I would stay home and watch our daughter while she went to work. Me
Mm.
being the artist at the time, not generating much income, it just made sense. And daycare being what it is.
Yeah.
Um, so as I spent more time with her, I was feeding her and stuff. I was just hearing the rules that were set as a child, and then hearing myself repeat them, even though they made no
Mm.
sense. Like I would get mad at my daughter. I mean, as much as you get mad at a little girl, but I was like, "Why are you using your hands?" And then
Yeah.
realizing, wait, you eat a sandwich with your hands, you eat
Yeah.
fruit with your hands. Like, don't use the fork, use the spoon. Stop making it like
Yeah.
a mess. And I just like I'm stressing her, myself out,
Yeah.
and so I found myself kind of like just interrogating my childhood and the rules. And so that's so the whole book idea came from the title, which was
Mm,
"Sometimes I Eat with My Hands," and just to
yeah.
break the notions of these rules that are they seem simple, but they have like lasting effects on all of
Right.
us. And it just I could imagine, even you said you were Nigerians, you
Yes.
guys eat with your hands as well, right?
We definitely with our hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember as a kid just kind of just being rude to myself about it, like, oh, that's uncivilized, or and it's just very weird. So I
Yeah.
kind of want to, in a weird way, solve those problems that I had as a child. I
Mm,
had problems with foods and smells and tastes, and just kind of feeling embarrassed,
mm,
about my culture, and then just feeling like, you know what, I could solve this somehow,
yeah. Yeah.
and that's really what got the book going, just with the
Yeah.
title and just my history as a child, my experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you shared about your struggles with food because that when I read that portion of your story at the end of the book,
Uh-huh,
I was like,
uh-huh.
yeah, that is something I can relate to when I was growing up. Even though I grew up in Nigeria and everybody knew what the smells were, there's some foods that I just didn't like because I was like, why does it have to smell that way,
Yeah.
right? And then coming to North America, you just know that your food smells different, like,
Hmm.
and you I have kids, so you don't want to pack certain foods to school because you're like, what if what if they're embarrassed? So there's some,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't pack like seafood or some of the things that we that like are really our indigenous meals. I wouldn't pack those kinds of things to school. So I really appreciate you writing a book about, that eating tradition with your hands. And it's almost like a relationship that we have with food as Africans that's completely different from the way North Americans have
Mm-hmm.
that sort of relationship that they have. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things I really appreciate about the book is the details that you capture. And in Fevin's home, there is Ethiopian art and some of the eating utensils are Ethiopian as well. Yet we also find that the things that would be present in a Canadian home. How are you able to achieve a balance between both cultures while you were doing those illustrations?
Yeah, so I was born in Toronto, as you know. So I kind of just spoke true to my experience. I didn't, it wasn't something I had to think too deeply about, but it did come up as I completed the book. A part of me started questioning whether I had represented my culture enough. I
Right.
started rethinking, oh, why didn't I put injera on the cover? Why didn't I do certain things? And it made me think about how I was introduced to food as a child and the process I went in. It kind of gave a depiction into my life, which was I was born an Ethiopian child in Toronto,
Right.
to two Ethiopian parents, and as like with their basically with their ideas to assimilate and have their children be able to just be a child in this world, in a
Right.
way they probably presented me with this, like you were saying, holding back certain foods, not
Yeah.
intentionally knowing, but
Yeah.
that kind of being a participator in the elimination of your culture.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and so that's kind of probably, without me like really knowing what I was doing, I was kind of just being true to how I saw food. Because as I
Mm,
got older, I started looking back to the food and be like, wait a minute, this food tastes so good.
right. Right.
All these flavors are amazing. And as I was introduced to just to the foods of the world, going to Italy, having friends of different backgrounds, I started seeing the tastes and smells as like important and having a story behind them.
Mm,
Um, and now I look at smells and strong flavors as what they are, like almost like paint, like a strong red, or
right.
these different paints that we use. They're beautiful in their own way,
Right.
and yeah, it kind of made me look at them like that.
Right. I really like what you shared about questioning, our ideas about our culture. because I also had to come to that point. I mean, there's still things that I wouldn't put in their lunch
Yeah,
bags
yeah.
just because I just don't want that drama. But
Mhm. Yes, yes,
there
yes.
was a time that I had to sit down and ask myself, like you said, how am I participating in this self erasure,
Hmm.
right? And is there a middle ground, right? There are some kids in my children's class that will bring all the wonderful Asian food that I may not appreciate, but they're eating it, right?
Oh, for
So
sure, for sure.
why would I not feel comfortable packing the kinds of foods that we eat? So I
Hmm.
think that one of the things I love about the book is the opportunity that it gives the reader to be able to sort of question subconsciously, what your ideas are about your culture. So thank you for doing that on behalf of of us immigrants.
No, no problem, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I hope I could, just even just seeing pictures of the food for a child in the book,
Right.
like you, just seeing my children's reaction it's normal to them. Like for
Mm.
me, seeing like myself in a children's book is crazy. It's like it's an amazing thing, but
Yeah.
our children are living in a different world now, right? Like for
Right.
them,
All right.
they're just like it's a normal thing to them. So I'm hoping the food thing can do that as well. Where they just see earlier than I did, they can see their food as normal, just another option,
Yeah.
and be proud of it. That's really the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the role of the family members at the table.
Hmm.
In Fevin's house, her nana brings the injera. Fevin helps to feed her brother, and her parents make sure that proper hygiene is maintained at the dining table.
Hmm.
Can you speak a little more about this apportioning of roles during meal times? Would you say that this is common in your culture where everyone participates?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's as as you know, in many African cultures, children are seen as like respect adults. It's
Yeah.
like you're over there, you just come when called,
Yeah.
otherwise stay away unless there's work to be done.
Yeah.
So I was raised in that world as well. My children are not in that world. That I have to explain everything to them.
Yeah.
They're the little adults in the house, so it's a completely
Yeah.
different scenario. But I still do hold on the idea of respect, with elders, and how my children talk to their grandma,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. My mother, um, I kind of so my mother doesn't cook our traditional food as much as when I was younger. It's very time consuming, and she's been
Yeah.
westernized as well, so she
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
she doesn't involve herself as much. But in a way, it was my way of also depicting, like my mother-in-law does, for example. So when I go to my mother-in-law's house, she's constantly making injera, all the sauces, and she'll send
Mm.
it back with us. So it was my way of also introducing my wife's mother into the story as well, because it's a
Right.
community story. It's not specifically about my mother. It's also about our community.
Yeah.
And as you're saying about the partitioning of roles, um, there is that within my household. I looked at as my family as like we all work together. My parents would tell us when money was tight,
Mm.
and so even in our household, it's like with the kids, it's like we make them help take out food from the
Yeah.
fridge, even though they're small and they could barely hold it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and as you know, the food is communal; it's eaten together.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think maybe that's possibly why we don't send our food to the school, because the Western world is very individualized.
Mm.
You could imagine if the whole class was eating a Nigerian dish or an Ethiopian
Yeah.
dish, uh, that would be fine. But it's like,
Yeah.
how do you fit it into a little Tupperware and,
Yes.
um, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah, you're right. There's that community aspect of food.
uh-huh.
I remember inviting some of my friends, some of my son's friends over for his birthday, and I had made some Nigerian snacks. And as you know, these things are finger foods. Like
Hmm.
you're not eating with
Fork
cutlery,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone was just going in there. And before I knew it, it was gone. Right,
Okay.
and this is something that I wouldn't typically give him to
The
school.
school, exactly.
But going back to your point about it being more communal, I think
Uh-huh.
that is so interesting, and I think actually quite true.
Hmm.
And that leads me to a conversation I wanted to have with you about the star dish injera.
Hmm.
And I was telling you before that I first saw it on Food Network some years ago,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, this looks so interesting!" And like you said, it really takes a lot of time making all the sauces and
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
and the I think is it naan bread, some type of flat bread
So the
that all the
injera,
sauces are on.
yeah. It's so that's a lot of people find it a little bit confusing. So people call injera the whole, like all the food, but it's
Right.
also refers to the bread. So that flat,
Oh,
like
I
fermented
see.
bread, is called injera as well.
Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that was, yeah, injera. That's what you would call
So I really am fascinated by it because first of all, it's colorful, which is very African.
it. Hmm.
Africans are very colorful people, right?
It's
It's
true.
big and wide, and
Yeah.
everybody has a place, on that meal.
Hmm.
And injera seems to me to be a symbol of what families should do. Like
Hmm.
families should eat together, it's symbolic of unity and togetherness.
Hmm.
And we've been talking so much about this, but is is there any much more meaning that this particular dish holds in your culture?
Um, that might be something I would have to research. Yeah, I don't really know. You know, that could be something really interesting. Who knows? That could be lead to my second book idea.
That could be. That
Um,
could be.
and interestingly enough, I had ideas of, the publisher had ideas of inserting a recipe for the making of injera into the book as just like a
Ooh,
fun little insert. And when I did my research, talking to my mom and family, friends, and the internet, it was such a long process that when I wrote it out and sent it to the publisher, they're like, "That's another book." Like, um, so yeah, there's probably a story that goes into the making of injera and how it happened.
mm,
But I'm not exactly sure. I do know, like you were saying, it's just known that it's a communal food.
yeah,
People come together. There's vegetarian dishes. There's meat
yeah.
dishes. And yeah, it's shared together. There's a specific thing called a gursha,
Okay.
which is well, you'll take the injera, you'll rip a piece of
Yeah, with your
injera,
hands.
yeah,
Yeah.
with your hands, and you'll grab a little bit of everything, mix it,
Yeah.
and you'll go and feed a loved one.
Oh,
Yeah, so you'll like, it could be your best guy friend or your wife or your mom. It's like a sign of affection. You'll go across
right.
the table or wherever you are and feed someone by hand.
That's like no personal space.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
But
and
that's really cute.
yeah, 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 and then
Could if you say what if you say no? Would that be considered rude or a rejection of someone's love?
oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, it really, because everyone knows each other. I mean, you
Yeah.
wouldn't do it to some, but that's the thing, right? You would generally eat this kind of food with people you know very well. So
Right.
they already coming together to share food is a
Right.
sign of like affection in a way. So I guess you'd only lean out and do that to someone that you loved, and they
Hmm.
would be like, no, no, no. But then they would insist. As you know, in
Yeah.
every culture, it's just like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
take it, and it's almost a
Yeah.
fight. Yeah, you know how it goes. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. That's really
Mhm.
amazing. So, how easy was it for you to write this book? What came to you first, the pictures or the words?
So it was, yeah. So it started with the title. Like I said, once the title came, see the see the thing is, it was kind of simple in a way. I mean, it is for like very young children who are starting the process of eating and learning how to eat.
Hmm.
So it's not a 10,000 word novel that
Yeah.
I'm writing
Yeah.
here. So that part wasn't too difficult, but just sitting there and going through the process of watching my first daughter just go along her progressions of learning to
Hmm.
eat, and I was able to just be an observer and see the relationship and interaction between her and her brother,
Right.
and it kind of just wrote itself. It was just from the voice of my daughter, it was just her being like, hi, introducing herself, and then going
Yeah.
along and say like, mentioning how her brother is not up to par. Just kind of, that's what they do. Everything is a
Yeah.
competition. Oh, I ate first. Oh, I finished first. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so just playing on the dynamics of that. And I love, I I don't know, maybe I'm a little childish. I love, like, so I'm the uncle who chases all the kids in the family and is just making noises and impressions and pretending to be a lion. And that's me. So maybe I have a child in me that's, still
Mm.
kicking around in it. So
Mm.
yeah, it wasn't too difficult.
Sounds like you had so much fun.
Yeah, I did. I did. It was a long process. Um, and the images, um, a lot of it was from references. So I would have
Mm.
my kids reenact different things, like throwing past. They were happy. I was making them throw pasta around in the house, and yeah, yeah. So they
Well,
loved they
why
loved
did
the
why
process.
did you have them do that so you could capture the image properly in your mind's eye?
Yeah, yeah. Just so, exactly. So I usually draw from images or references. So because I didn't like some artists, they're amazing. Like kudos to them. They know the anatomy in a way that they could say, oh, if they put their hand behind their head, they'll know exactly how to draw that perfectly. And
Mm.
for me, I find it's easier to have my children enact these things and then
Mm.
capture it and then work with that. So that's kind of how I worked with making the images.
Okay. So let's talk about the publishing process. So
Okay.
you wrote and illustrated this book. How easy was it for you to sell this idea to publishers? Did it take like several rejections? Did they tell you to change stuff? What did that look like?
So I I got kind of what I was told is I was very lucky.
Okay.
I so and I am, to be completely honest. My process was to make it the beginning quick. My wife just it was an idea of hers. I had the title. I started working on it blindly, just like I'm gonna make this book, and I do that a lot with my art. I think it through without really knowing if it's possible or not. I'll just
Mm.
say this is my end goal is to make this book.
Right.
I saw there being a market for it because I was like, the East African community is very big in Toronto. I know a lot of people, and this book solves the problem essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's something a lot of people can participate in, and even in different African cultures, they also eat with their hands. The Indian culture eats. It's just a very
Yeah.
common thing. So I saw that there was a market for it, but I knew nothing about the publishing side of the process.
Mm.
So while I'm writing this book just blindly, I walk out of my house one day on my way to the library because that's where I would get some quiet because my kids are in the house going crazy.
Yeah.
I run into a childhood friend's father. I see him and I'm like, Mr. Lieberman, and he's like, Abby, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, I live right here. He's like, his office is right there, and he's like, oh, I'm a children's book. I think he's a publisher for children's like educational books or something. And
Okay.
I was like, oh man, I'm writing a children's book right now. I know nothing about it. He's like, oh, all right, we got to have a meeting. I'll tell you how to put out manuscripts and how to do because I didn't even know the word
Hmm.
manuscript. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
Um, and
You
he
definitely were lucky.
oh yeah, and he's like, but understand this is such a slow process. He's
Mm.
like, to get a response from a publisher. Oh, that by the way, he wasn't the publisher. They did educational materials or something, but he taught me the process. So he said it takes people sometimes 10 years to hear a yes.
Yeah.
Be aware of that. This is a long process. And I said, oh, I was fine with it. I'm very patient. So I continued with my book and did the manuscripts like he said, and I started sending them out. I heard a couple no's, a couple non-responses that didn't come through, and within 5 months or 6 months, I heard a yes, and the publisher was like, I don't know, maybe like a kilometer from my house, just
Wow.
randomly. They didn't know where I lived. They didn't know anything. They just reached out to me and were like, "We love your idea. We saw a couple of drawings. Is this still available?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's available." I was confused, so I called him and I told him, "I'm like, hey, I got a response. They want to publish the book." He's like, "What already?" He's like, "Oh, he's like, I knew you had something good and you have good ideas." But he's
Yeah.
like, "That's fast. Congrats." And he helped me along the process. But then the difficult process started, which was you got it, now do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was difficult.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah,
I'm happy that you saw it through and you're here today.
yeah, for sure.
And your kids, how are they feeling about it? Are they excited to see Daddy's book out?
Yeah, they are excited because it was such a long process. So I had moments where things just took me a lot longer. Just the mere fact that it was a new process to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way more comfortable with fine art painting and like portraiture and stuff. So illustration was new to me. Working with watercolors was a new thing to me. So just getting just the pressure that I kind of just put on myself for this first book, getting
Mm.
past the anxieties of like making a mistake and watercolors
Right.
not being a forgiving medium, it just took me a while. So my children have been seeing the slow progress, so they've been kind of used to it. And for kids, when they see something, if they see it as a young child, it's normal to them. So
Hmm.
by the time the book came out, they had seen the cover, different prints and versions. Uh, they have been excited for it. It's been like a 2.5, 3 year process. So for them,
Wow.
by the time the book came to them, they were like, "Oh, that's great!" And it was around Christmas, so they were like, "All right, where's my gift?" And then they would throw that away. So yeah. But I did hear that they were showing it off to grandma and grandpa. They're like, "Oh, I have a book
Aw.
on Amazon. Do you want to see it?" Yeah,
Aw.
yeah.
That's really
So
cute
yeah. So that's
and rewarding, I
oh
guess,
yeah,
after all the
no,
hard work.
it's great. It's great. Yeah.
So sometimes I eat with my hands is out on April 1. What are some things that you're looking forward to when it comes out?
Uh yeah, I'm look a couple things. A couple things. I'm excited to see because I've always thought like as an artist being involved in also like the selling and that can
Mm.
kind of be a little weird sometimes. Even when the book initially came to me, I felt because I'm taught as an artist to look for what's wrong,
Mm.
and I can't help it. I'm always thinking about what I could have done better the next time, which is not where my mind should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after a couple of days, I found myself just being excited again and starting to think about just that happy look of a kid seeing a book and opening it and looking at pictures. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to just walk in the store and seeing the book exist amongst other books,
Right.
and just seeing someone grab it and make a purchase. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah. I can imagine the joy that you will feel when you like walk into a reading and you see little children gathered round to hear you read, or you just even randomly see someone pick it up at the store. So
Hmm.
I'm congratulating you in advance and hoping that this book will do what it will do. I
Hmm.
really do see it empowering immigrant children
Hmm.
to love their own foods
Hmm.
and while embracing the foods that are here, but also loving their foods and embracing this new wider variety, wider palette, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And wider appreciation for food. So
For sure, for
thank
sure.
you so much for writing and
Oh,
for coming to chat with me today.
for
It
sure.
has been a pleasure.
For me as well.
And I will leave all the links to your book in the description for anyone who wants to get it. Um, and if you're watching us, thank you so much. I will catch you on the next episode. On the next episode, I'll be chatting with another inspiring artist. But before then, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think about this show and this episode. Feel free to drop me a note here or send me a DM on Instagram at Journey of the Art Plot. Finally, please subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow and rate the show if you're listening elsewhere. Help me connect with other artists who need a dose of inspiration today. Until next time, stay on the journey of your art.